I realized that God is the air that I breathe. This substance, this thing right here, this, whatever this is, this right here, we think it's air. But I realized that if I stop, close my nose and mouth for 4 minutes, if I'm separated from this substance for 4 minutes, my heart don't stop. My brain don't even stop. My body functions don't stop. The first thing I lose is consciousness. I pass out. I can no longer stay aware. So I started to say, well, wait a minute. I'm not just breathing in air. I'm breathing in consciousness. I'm inhaling and exhaling God itself. And this air is conscious. Everything is conscious on some level. It is vibrating. It has a purpose. It has a point. It has a point of view. Everything. And there's love in that. It's not even that God loves us. It's that God loves itself. The universe loves itself. And we are part of it. We're part of that. We're in it. It's just, we're something that the universe is doing. So I said, wow, what a way to live. Everything is God. Let me keep breathing. Let me just keep breathing and just keep breathing and taking in what the conscious universe is trying to tell me, what it's trying to give me. So I started to walk through life with that. Perfect timing. When I'm late for places, it's not late. This is when I'm supposed to be here. If I'm too early, this is when I'm supposed to be here. If I'm sick, I'm not sick. This is a part of the journey. This is it. Why get worried about anything when you know this is part of the journey? This is just what it is. And you notice that when you let go and just say, you know what, I don't even care what happens because I'm just part of this whole thing. You get healthier. You're less fearful, less worried. Your wealth and meaning your money, your finances are more in order. Things are coming to you. You just say, look, I'm just going to be me, and I'm not afraid to be me. And I'm just going to be me, and I'm just going to speak me and be me, and whatever the consequences of it is, that is what it is, because even the consequences is part of me, and that's who I am. And so for me, that became God. And I thank you, God, for even speaking of yourself through this. I realized that
This is the first time I hear someone talk about God and consciousness itself in a more thoughtful way. That is, you can hear that this person has really went and tried to think about things. That is, he didn't go and grab any concept out there of how or what people explain God as. He sounds like he may have read a lot of things probably, but it feels as if like he still went in and tried to get a definition for himself. This is why he says something like, he said it twice. He said, that's how I see God for myself, like that. He didn't go and try to take what everybody else says. This is what God, or this is who God, or this is what I'm understanding about consciousness and whatnot. It sounds like someone who, as much as maybe influenced just like everybody else with by this environment, whatever concepts, many concepts which are out there, he is sounding like a guy who went in or who tries to go in there and think for himself. And he looks very young here. This is KRS1. And if you've listened to his music as well, that comes out a lot. He really does sound like someone who applies himself in that way. That is, he is a kind of program which is pretty much interested in operating in its own program that is as authentic as he can be, you know. And this is why I think this is why he always on his music he's up it's him, you know. It's KRS1. You don't hear, there are other musicians who bring that as well, you know, the element of, like that. Like for instance, if you think about, I'm not comparing, but if you go and look at what's his name again, Kanye West, he brings his own concept of how he understands spirituality in a way. This person sounds like someone who's not talking, he's not even talking the language of spirituality per se. He's defining himself, you know, through his existence in the universe and through his existence through God, or God existing through him in that way. He's trying to, you can hear that this is a person who applied his mind to kind of like make an understanding for himself, not really taking all kinds of crap out there and reciting it. He 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 looks like a kind of person, or he always sounds like the kind of person who looks deeper into things, who questions things. And this is what I always said. I don't understand when most, especially kind of teacher type of programs, because he could be a teacher as well. Learner teacher. Most learning tools or learning programs, you would expect that they would at least try to kind of like question things and bring their own take on their understanding of what the fuck is really going on around this environment. Instead, they don't come off like that. They are out there trying to teach, and you can hear that they have a very strong teaching presence in their program, that they have a way of teaching. They have a, what does that card say? The gift of gab kind of a thing. But the information that is coming out is lacking. You're like, it doesn't grab you. It doesn't make you want to listen to it and really immerse yourself in the knowledge that that person is trying to share. And I'm thinking about something now. I normally interject before even the recording or the video goes further, even though this is a short one. It's a short actually. But for some reason, when it came to this person, I just didn't have anything else to say. I really don't have much to say because of this is how he sees God for himself. Is he right? Is he wrong? It doesn't matter. It doesn't matter. What I appreciate about him is he is not, he's doing it for himself. He's not coining things. You know, he's just understanding for himself. He's learning for himself. And maybe he does teach through his music or through things like he's in this type of interview that he's doing now. But you can hear that he is not, I don't know, if I've seen as much as I've seen of KRS1, he doesn't sound like that guy. Perhaps he does do talks and stuff. I don't know. I haven't been following him for long. I just love his music, right? I think a lot of people do. You know, we listen to KRS for his music, his kind of poetic kind of music. But in this instance, in this shot, there isn't much I can actually say, you know. And it's not to say that I need to say anything about anything, because when I heard it first time, I was like, Father, this, I don't even know. This is the first time in a long time I see something in my feed that is actually going to feed me, that feeds my knowledge, that feeds my program with something for me to really think about. He said something very interesting about this consciousness thing, how he explained it. And I'm like, yeah, you know what? He's right. You don't, your heart doesn't really stop. Your brain doesn't really stop, but you do lose consciousness. And that for me sounds like, I know I don't like to use this word profound or something like that, but it's something to think about. It's something to really ponder and be like, you know what? It's sounds like um it sounds like it's good. I haven't really explored it, but I think he's right. Um I don't I haven't really tried that trick of trying not to breathe like that. So I don't know what happens exactly, but I do believe that your heart will still beat, your brain will still function and tell you, your heart will still feel like, okay, you're probably going to hear it through your ears because of you stopped kind of breathing. You're probably going to hear your heart going boom, 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 boom louder. I don't know. I think so. But then your brain is probably going to tell you, are you fucking crazy? You know, you're about to lose consciousness, and then you lose consciousness. But as you lose consciousness, you continue breathing, your brain continues functioning. Maybe not thinking, but your brain still functions. Maybe the thoughts part is in sleep mode because of you've lost consciousness. And who knows, you could be in a dream state as well after losing consciousness. I don't know. Right? So, but it's something that when you think about it, you could be like, I can see that happening. It sounds like this is something to think about. I think he's actually right. You do lose consciousness. And this is how he said, then it means that consciousness, this is God. The reason why he's losing consciousness is because of he has stopped breathing in God. He has stopped breathing in consciousness. That makes sense. You stop breathing in consciousness, and that breath is not just, like he's saying, it's not just a breath. It's consciousness. When people talk like this, it's not to say that you're supposed to kind of like uh, I'm trying to defragment it, and I'm looking at it and I'm thinking, my goodness, it could be one of the first few things I have heard on YouTube that I feel like there's nothing wrong with this thing. There's this I don't hear anything wrong with it. Right. Um in and in a way I could go further with his consciousness thing and explaining it how I understand it, how I experienced it. What he's saying when he says the air, this air, right? It's not just air, it's consciousness. When you think about where God comes from, right? How he's created, that is in energy format. And when you equate that in the sense of everything else is energy that is created in that dark, the universe is in a dark space. The only reason why you see certain objects is because they have light, they shine. But everything is going to shine because there is darkness in it. And this is where this is where God originates, that is. And some places you might be able to breathe, right? This environment called air. Some environments you might be able to breathe this thing called air. Perhaps it's programmed into that environment for you to be able to breathe a certain type of air when you're on planet Earth. But yes, even that is still part of God. Consciousness for me means, perhaps for me, I feel like consciousness is even, it's after the fact that God is energy. When God is energy, he exists as energy, he flows through space as energy. At some stage, this energy starts moving in such a way that it starts having consciousness, that it starts being aware that it's moving. Consciousness essentially being awareness of yourself, right? You're conscious of yourself, you're conscious of your existence, you're conscious of your being, you're conscious of your movement, that is God himself was conscious of in that way. So by the time he programs worlds, and the specific world being a program, he has also programmed things like air, things like whatever CO2 we breathe here, and whatever else that gases that are surrounding this planet. They're all programs, right? But these programs live in or exist, or yeah, they exist in his energy. They are his energy. They are an extension of him, right? Just like KRS1 is an extension of God, the air that he breathes as well is similarly an extension of God. And everything that we see around us is an extension of God. God exists as air, exists as fire, exists as soil, exists as KRS1, exists as destiny, exists as a curtain, a chair, everything. And that's an extension of him. Everything is extension of him. Everything is a program written by not necessarily he wrote the chair program, but the materials and everything else that creates that chair is part of him. It's an extension of him. We get to be creators by molding that energy or whatever substance that we get that is an extension of him into some sort of a chair, table, desk, whatever it is that you want to think of, creating. But that's how I would understand consciousness, is that yes, you could think about it as in it's air that you breathe, but when you realize, when you know that the world itself, Earth, is a program. Earth is a program, and how Earth operates, the air we breathe, the oceans, the rivers, the mountains, the vegetations, the trees and stuff, and the beings, the people, the animals, everything on on planet Earth is a sub program of planet Earth, and it's essentially a sub program of God itself, right? So his consciousness is being aware of himself, right? My consciousness, this is where I'm going to understand my consciousness, is being aware of myself. That is, his consciousness is being aware of himself in a dark space, in a dark energetic space. When he starts swirling and moving around in that dark space, that's his consciousness. He's conscious of himself existing in a dark environment like that. He does say he was just in a dark environment. It was just darkness, nothing else but just darkness. And then he started having thoughts, right? Like, where is he? Who am I? And all of those things. And this is where energy is created as he does that. That is light energy, not dark energy. Dark energy is what he existed from, that what he comes from, what he really is, right? But to create a light energy, he had to vibrate to a point where it becomes a spark in that darkness, and that was a thought. Even though movement was there, but the thought one has your thoughts are much more vibrational than your movements and stuff. They're very much, hence they have a potential to create things. When you have a lot of energy, you're going to be able to create things from your thought, right? And that's how Father was able to create from thought. That is, he had gathered over the years as he moved there alone for a very, very long time. Eventually, he started asking questions. That is, he started having thoughts. This is when he started getting energy, right? Enough energy for him to be able to have even bigger thoughts, asking specific questions. Where am I? What am I? Who am I? Right? And then at some stage asking, is there anyone else there? Right? So he got even more energy as he asked more questions, more deeper questions, more intelligent questions. That light became brighter and brighter and brighter and brighter. So that's God. God's consciousness is not exactly our consciousness in that way. My consciousness is my understanding of, okay, I must be separate here. Perhaps I'm going to realize something in the future, but for me to know what father is, he had to put me in his shoes in a way. And I remember him saying something like, I need you would be able, my energy, the way it is, he said, you're going to be able to be capable of moving into my energy without losing yourself. And I remember there's a part where when he got to show me the other part of himself where he almost got crazy, right? Actually, not he almost got crazy. He did. He started losing his mind. This is when he realized that the brother that he calls brother, the other person, the other being that he came through and said, I'm here, is actually himself. This is when he nearly lost it. But then the other brother kept bringing him out of it. Like, you have to like come back. I'm here. I'm really here. But he knew, he understood it. But to understand that you are yourself and you created three other beings, which are you have to be able to control your mind in that way. So when he got to that part, he said, I need you to be mindful. You're going to feel very, very weird here. I need you not to go too deep in there. You're going to feel like you're losing your mind. He warned me. And he said, you must, I don't remember, I have to remember, but he made me focus on something. He said I must focus on him. Oh yeah, I must focus on him and his voice so that I don't get myself drowned in there. And he said this is very important for him, for me to not allow myself to be pulled by that darkness, by that, not darkness, but by that, yeah, I guess it's darkness, insanity sort of a thing. And when we got to that part where, as he keeps talking to his brother, this is me experiencing myself as father, right? Because I'm walking in his shoes. And in this instance, he gets to the point where he starts realizing, wait, where did you come from? He's like, remember me? We met, we spoke the other, he had forgotten even that he had created this person. He's like, I don't know you. You were never here. I was alone. Where did you come from? This brother, this other part of himself, had to remind him, don't you remember you were calling me? Don't you remember you said this? Remember we were on the other side? And after I was like, I don't remember. And then by the time he remembers, right there, when this other being of himself tells him who he is, this is when now it starts to clash. It's like, shit. He realizes it, right? It's like, at that time, he starts having a thought of, am I imagining this person? Could I be imagining this person? And it's not a person. It's just energy. It's just thought. There's no being there. It's just them moving about in the darkness, right? And this is when the sanity starts drawing him. It's like he's confused who this person is. And then he's having this thought of, maybe this is me because of oh yeah. And he started feeling himself, like at that point, he started feeling both parts of himself. That is the way he got aware that he was existing when he was moving about in the dark energy. He started being aware that even this one is feeling like him. This is where he starts to kind of like lose his mind. But he had to get control of that. And the brother, the other part of him, pulled him out of it, kept pulling him out. He kept losing himself, kept being pulled out, and until he got himself kind of like stabilized in a way. Now, for me, how I understand my consciousness, because there's levels to this shit. No matter how much people tell you, you are God, right? You are God in a different. There is a reason why that is happening. There is a reason why that makes sense, but it's not in the sense that this environment has told you that you are God in that way, which I will explain. My consciousness is me being aware of myself in God Himself. God's consciousness was him being aware of himself in the darkness. Inside that darkness, when he started being like, I feel like there's something moving. Wait, this is me. Wait, why am I thinking? Wait, who am I? Wait, where am I? Things like that. This is the part of himself, God, the first level of himself, where he starts thinking, who am I and who am I and where am I? In the darkness, from the darkness. Now you don't experience that shit unless you tell me that your meditation is going to get you to that level. I don't know. I can't argue that one out because I've tried that shit and it never works for me. All I see, the last time I meditated, I went back to my world, right? So there was no darkness there. And perhaps I could remember some of my visions, some of my lifetimes and stuff like that. So I don't know. I guess it's different for other people. But unless you can remember the very scene that God himself would remember, maybe, yes, I could say, all right, if many other people are remembering that, perhaps I'm also like many other people like that. You know what I mean? But it's very distinct. It's very difficult to explain. It's going to be interesting to hear how somebody else explains it. But what I've heard and what I've seen, is not even close. And this is why Father wanted me to go through that. And he said to me, I remember it sounded like I'm the only one who could do that. I don't know why. Because of my energy, I could walk that path a little bit with him. But he warns me when he gets to the point where he's going to lose his mind. But he only did that part, the part that he showed me, right? I must say, I nearly lost it. There's two parts where I nearly lost it. There's a part where he starts existing. That part, I was feeling a little bit weird, right? Where his brothers are there as well. Like he's created his brothers and they're in this darkness. It's like he's taking me through paths. That path, he had to remind me every time to kind of like come back to him. And then there's a part where he's saying to me, now we're going to get to this part where I'm showing you how I start losing my mind, which is this very same path as he showed me before, right? It's like he's showing me versions, not versions, but layers of his existence. So let's come back to myself. Myself as consciousness, my consciousness, how I understand my consciousness is that I am conscious and I'm aware that I am a program written by God himself. I am a light program. I am made of light, meaning I'm made of that energy, pure energy, because every program will have energy attached to it, right? But I'm conscious in myself knowing that I am part of Father. I am part of Father. I'm Father's child and I'm Mother's child as well. I'm conscious of myself because I remember and I know who Father is, who God the Creator is, and how I come to be. This is how I'm conscious of myself. I'm conscious of the fact that I'm a program that was written by Father, right? He shows me my own program on a PC itself and how I operate in a program format and how I operate in a beingness that is a human beingness program. This is also a program that I am right now in the physical. So this is for me, that level of consciousness is different. There's a level of consciousness that you experience that you have to access before you can even remember, if you're going to remember, that is. If God maybe gave you the same kind of tour that he gave me, I don't know, maybe he did. We'll find that out. You will remember that part as well, or whatever consciousness level that you need to remember. But for me, I know of this consciousness level that I'm in right now. Isn't like I know that Father showed me myself as a child, as a baby, in a cot with my mother after birthing me, right? How I looked, that I was just light, just bright light, right? A baby, not a program, but a baby in a cot. And then how, when I was growing up within his household, that his father's household, I was being planned my path and being shown my path and how I'm going to some parts of the plan of me to come here, right? And I didn't know at the time when I was young that that is a program. I didn't know when I was in heaven that I'm looking at a program. I had to come to this planet to understand that what I was looking at was a program, because I wasn't supposed to learn from my spiritual self. I was supposed to come and learn in my physical self what that spiritual thing that I'm seeing or that I lived is. And that is consciousness for me. That is my consciousness of me being aware that I'm a program, me being aware where I come from, me being aware what my purpose is, me being aware what my mission is, and me being aware at some stage I'm going to find out my destiny. So that's where I say consciousness for me is it's different. I know humans have been led to believe that they I feel like that people heard the story of God's existence. Some misinterpreted it some way, and it was later taken on, ran with in a misinterpreted way. That, oh, you are God. But they mixed two things which are not the same. There is God the creator, there is God the destroyer, and there's two other gods which make up Father, right? There is God the architect, which is Mother. And then there is other gods, like Yeshua is a god, Vishnu, Shiva, um, Elena. These are my brothers that and sisters that I'm calling. Um, why am I forgetting the other ones? I'm yet to learn about the other ones, by the way. But there are about 12 brothers and sisters of mine, and I'm the 13th. Those are gods, right? Those are gods. But then there are other gods, right? Who came here just like who came here and learned to become gods. That is, they mastered themselves to a point where they became a god program. That is, they ascended the spiritual ladder to master themselves and master their crafts. That is, master their powers, or master, in program language, their functionality. And when they master how to use that functionality in the physical, their spiritual functionality, that is their program functionality in the physical environment as a physical human being, when they mastered that, they became gods, and they are those gods. And when they tell people that you are a god, this is what they mean. This is what was supposed to be understood. Not that you're God the creator. No, you must know what God you are. I'm destiny, right? I'm here to master certain things. I don't know what God or what I'm going to master. And I'm defragmentation tool as well. I'm a defragmentation function. That's what I do, right? So I'm going to be called some God of something. And this is why you find one God who's got many things. God of love is also God of money. And because of that person or that being came here and mastered money, mastered love, mastered, I don't know, mastered anything. Drawing, God of beauty, God of what. That's why one God can have many different facets to themselves. That is, they are gods of many things because they came here and mastered their fucking different functionalities. I know, right? And that's why they're called gods. That's what they mean when they say you're a god. You must know what is that God about. What God are you? You're not God the creator. That consciousness is God the creator's consciousness. What consciousness do you have about yourself being a God of what? Go and be aware and find out that kind of consciousness for yourself. Be aware what you're here for as a God program. What is your God program here to do and master? What are you still trying to learn and master when you're here? And this is where now the confusion comes in, where people feel like they don't have to do anything because of they're already God. No, you do have to do something. You have to ascend spiritually because you came here to ascend spiritually to master a specific thing. And you need to remember what that was. And you're going to remember if you go and do the walking of your path, as in like living your spiritual path, so that you can discover your gifts, master yourself in whatever way you decided that you wanted to come here to master. So do I must say still, I'm not trying to be I mean, you can hear it for yourself. I don't have to. When you compare what I have defragmented up until this point, what I just listened to now gave me hope that, oh yeah, I remember now. There are some beings who actually go out there, or who's actually been applying themselves and applying their minds before they come and try to teach people anything. Because there's a lot of teachers out there on YouTube and even in like communities who are teaching from a wrong premises. That is, they're teaching from incorrect knowledge, insufficient or incomplete knowledge. That is, they have a little bit of something and they put many other things on top of it. They don't understand the concepts that they're talking about. This is why I feel like consciousness has been one of those topics as well, that a lot of people also talk about it, but they're not aware that it's a very simple thing. It's not as deep as people think it is. But at the same time, when you look at it's important. It might not be as like, oh, consciousness, the way they say it, especially in the spiritual environment, spirituality, not spiritual environment, spirituality kind of environment. They talk about consciousness and self-awareness as if like it's sort of something unattainable or not easy to attain. That shit is very easy. That shit is very easy to attain. You're just going to have to drop your egos and try to remember who you are. Try to remember what program you are. Try to remember where you come from. Right? And vibrate higher. When you vibrate higher, that is, you don't vibrate high. You don't just go and say, I'm going to vibrate high. No. How I did it is that I had to drop low vibrational shit. And then eventually I just vibrated high. That is, you have to drop low vibrational behaviors and stuff and thinking and being and whatever. And as you do that, your vibration is going to get high. You don't have to focus on being high vibration. You just have to focus on letting go of programs which are not supposed to be attached to your main program. Programs like fear, anger, anxiety, sadness, jealousy. Stop behaviors like gossiping, hurting other people, all those low vibrational shit. And then you see, as you drop one, your light gets brighter. Drop another one, your light gets brighter. And you also gonna feel lighter because you've dropped baggage, rubbish. Yeah. But anyway, is there anything else? I almost wanted to skip this one because this one is good. I don't want to go and ruin it, right? And it's very good. I think it's very good. But I must say, I do like how he explained the breathing part of it, right? The consciousness part of it, the God part of it, that the air part being consciousness, right? And I'm like, that's like most creative way I've heard somebody explain consciousness. Other than that, people just talk things that They don't even say anything, to be honest. They don't say anything. They just use keywords, consciousness, vibration, and once they do that, you're gonna think, oh, they said something. No, these people just mention keywords in the middle, and the rest of it is just rubbish. And you think, oh, they said something. So, is there anything else, Father, that I need to remember here? What am I supposed to be saying here? What are you saying? Are you saying this is a message as well for him? Shoot. Imagine, I nearly forwarded this. He must keep going. That is KRS1. I feel like he's been... Okay, let me see. KRS1. You've been on a path for a very long time. I feel like he has needed confirmation. He needed confirmation of the concepts or the thinking that he has. The part about him being a program is what he also needed to. But I feel like he got it. There's somewhere where I feel like he they're saying like there's somewhere where you almost had it and you dropped it. That's what I'm thinking. That's what I'm hearing. Or I'm feeling like there was a time when you were talking program. You had it, but you didn't go through with it. That is, he had it, he had this concept, but he didn't run with it. Isn't like as if like I feel like at that time people you got it kind of like you got nervous. You had it, you understood it, but you dropped it too soon before you understood it properly. Like you almost got it, but you dropped it because of. And I feel like you also sang about it. I feel like there is also somewhere where you're singing about it, but you dropped that concept of being programmed. And you said it, but in a different way, like the way normally people say it, when they say you are programmed, you're a program, but they don't say you're a program, right? They say you're programmed by this and this and that. They don't really put it in a way of saying you're a program. You're a program. Okay, so your message, I feel like I was supposed to say this to you. Yeah. You got it. You've been on a path for a while. They're saying you're one of the few who's been on the path for a very long time. You just needed confirmation. And this is essentially your confirmation. That you were on the right track. But you need to open up more. Oh shoot. You know what, ne? Now I'm having another vision. I remember listening to one of your songs on YouTube. I feel like you were redoing one of your old songs with someone. And I remember feeling like, oh my God, this was brilliant, right? And then at that time, I had an epiphany of Father saying to me, you're going to have a message for him as well. And I was like, huh? At the time, I wasn't awake, okay? So I just take it for whatever it is, and then I move on with it. They just give me they just give me something so that I can go back. This is my confirmation. So this is how Father confirmed for me. He would give me nuggets throughout my life so that I can remember them when this time comes for me to be awakened in this way, so that I can confirm that, yeah, I remember Father said, I'm going to bring you a message one day. And it wasn't a long time ago. It was almost just before or just when I was starting with my awakening, maybe 4 years ago. 3 years ago. I feel like it's 4 years ago. I listened to something that you did, a remake of your song on YouTube with someone, some other guy, right? And it was a nice, thing to watch. And I was so impressed, and I was like, I should go and find your albums and listen to them. And at the same time, I'm thinking, oh, I'm hearing, you're also going to have a message for him in future. And this is your message. You're being confirmed. You're being confirmed. It's kind of like also a wake-up call for you. But yours is actually a special one. It's a confirmation that you've been on a right track. But you need to get back on, not the right track. You've been on the right track. You've been on the path, on your spiritual path for a while, for a long time. You just needed confirmation. And then they're saying something about you dropping the programming thing. You need to revisit that. You had it, and I feel like you had a song or songs or used to sing about it, but we just didn't understand you in that way. There are people who understood you, by the way. No, there are people who understood you, like myself, but there are many others who heard you. You were on the right track. There are many others who were hearing you in the way you wanted to come off as, but something was blocking you. Obviously, we know this environment is always going to influence your authenticity, right? So you were trying to be that authentic, but something drew you back. I don't know, man. I feel like there was someone who said something to you about it, or someone said something to you about it that people are gonna think like you're crazy or you've lost it, or something about this is the reason why why you won't be able to go forward in this industry or something like that. But we already know that story, right? It's always the case. I mean, musicians always say shit like that, that, when you try to be authentic, you don't get far. But you chose anyway to continue in your own way, but you dropped that specific one. I feel like you dropped that specific one about us being programs, that is. I feel like you were on the brink of it. You were discovering it, but you didn't want to believe it. You were or you discovered it and you didn't want to believe it. You woke up to it, but you didn't want to believe it. It's not just you. I remember saying this to fathers, like, you know what, there's some of these hip hop musicians, right? Some of this not old, but like very kind of underground kind of hip hop people. You have these concepts, and they are called underground in that way because of nobody wants to be saying them out loud, and this is the problem. But it's not just you. There is others. There are others. I don't remember who, but most of the hip hop people, no, I'm not gonna be like that, right? Like there's real hip hop. I'm talking about hip hop. I'm not talking about rap, okay, or any of these new age stuff. I'm talking about hip hop. Yeah, you had some of these very interesting concepts, and you liked to sing a lot about consciousness. I'm getting that y'all need to just go there and go deeper. But for you, you are one of the few. You are getting a confirmation. This is a confirmation that you've been on the right track. You need to open up more. You need to open up more to your ancestors and God. It's like how I feel you, as in you are using your mind. You're using your thinking. You're thinking a lot. You don't realize that some of that nudges are coming from spirit. That is God Himself and your ancestors. And once you accept that the programs before you, that is your ancestors who are similar to you, have such wealth of knowledge for you to download from them. You need to open that yourself up to that power that your ancestors had. It's been there since. You've been opening up and closing, opening and closing. Like, you do get it, but you need to understand it in the way it's supposed to be understood. The spiritual, what crap shouldn't blind you. It's not about that. It's about you understanding that when they say spirit, they mean program. Your spirit, your program, you need to remember what that program is. I feel like you're a teacher as well. Maybe Father's still waking up teachers. I have been doing so many teachers, learner teacher kind of programs. But you probably teach through music. But I'm getting that you're not just a teacher. I don't know. You're something else. You're not just you have a learner functionality as well, but you're something else. But you do have a learner functionality. It's not just you. There's someone else I'm going to have to confirm for. But you're the one. You're one of. I feel like there's two of you, but you're one of them, one of the two. You are being confirmed that you've been on the right track. You just need to go deeper and be more open with your authenticity. And there's something about your ancestors. I don't know. Hey, it's almost as if like you're shying. You're shying away from connecting to ancestors. They made this whole ancestor thing sound like it's a spiritual, religious type of thing. It's not. Or no, it's not. Everybody has a ancestor program. That is, everybody, your program has existed before in another being, as another being. And that's the ancestors, that's your ancestors that you need to go back to and learn from. And access that power. They keep saying about that power. You're something else as well. Anyway, everybody who's been sent to me, it's some big energy. So you're also big energy. I think I'm hearing that's one of the reasons why you still remained. Like, to be in the, you're able to come back when you want to, is because of your power. You do have power, but I feel like your problem, not problem, okay, not the problem, but your issue, okay, maybe not an issue, but your thing is, you know how these other programs, right, these learner programs or teacher programs or these other big programs would go out there and be like, you are humble. You're humble. You don't go out there and be like, I'm KRS1, I'm trying to teach you something. No, you don't. And that's a good thing. But I'm hearing it's time for you to claim your power in that way. To claim your power. There's something about you and your music as well. I'm hearing that it's about time. You shouldn't be afraid of that. To go in there. I'm going to give you an example of what I'm feeling like. I'm feeling like You're connected to God, not connected. It's almost like you're aligned. Everybody's connected to God, right? But alignment is key. You're aligned to God. Um, I, this is how I see you. I see your ancestors. They seem to be so sort of like sidelined, and you go directly to Father, right? That is God Himself, and that's not a bad thing. But I feel like they're saying it's time for you to link up with your ancestry, so that because you do both. Like I used to be like that. I used to be very much, even though my ancestors I used to also kind of like acknowledge, but not in a way of understanding that they were the same program as I'm walking their path. So you are walking your ancestors' path. So in order for you to ascend, you're going to have to align with them as well so that they can help you walk this path in the best way possible so that you don't realize it, but some of the power you have, you're using their power, the powers that they've gained, the gifts that they gained. It's yours to use. So you're going to have to tap into that for everyone, actually, for everyone. But you feel like I see Father more prominent and your ancestors being way too on the side. Like you probably acknowledge, or not in that way. You're just like me. I used to be like that. I never used to see it as one as a team, as God and our ancestors are working together. And I'm going to give you an example about myself. When my grandmother, great grandmother that is, father showed me a simulation of my great grandmother, how she's going to be active in my life on earth when I needed anything, how she's going to help me to get what I needed, help me to teach me, to show me how to walk this path, right? He showed me her, and my great grandmother's like, up and about and moving around in heaven or the spiritual world. And like he works with Father every time. It's like, we need to do this. This is how your ancestors are going to work with your spirit, with Father in that way. It's their job. Ancestor programs. When you die, you become an ancestor. And not everybody gets to be an ancestor program, by the way. It depends. But those who are able to become ancestors, they become ancestor program. It's a not a privilege, but it's a very serious position. They work very close with God in that way. So your other family members can be there. That is, your other ancestors will be there, but maybe in the background there. But there's going to be some few ancestors or few passed on loved ones who are going to be very prominent for you to help you walk your path. Because of you are essentially walking their path. I'm walking my path and I'm being helped by my great grandmother and Yeshua himself sometimes, and my uncle, my great uncle, and I sometimes see my great grandmother with my great grandfather, who I haven't met, by the way, but he knew me. He knew I was coming because my mother was pregnant with me, and apparently he's my greatest. One of my how did they put it? Like I don't know how to put it. Like he cheers me on all the time, essentially. Everybody does, but he's like, hey, you know what? So and I feel like this confirmation you need it. You've been waiting for it for a long time. I feel like you've been waiting for this confirmation for a long time, but you wouldn't have actually thought you would receive a confirmation like this from Father, God Himself, the universe, Elohim, God the Creator. And He's sending you a message and He's saying, this is your confirmation. You asked. You asked some stage, not once, but you've been asking for confirmation. Ooh, damn it, I'm being tapped in the ear. You asked for confirmation. You've been asking for confirmation. You've been needing that kind of confirmation, validation. Yeah. And this is it. I feel like I'm forgetting something. I feel like I see you. You're going to go on. Something in your music industry, you're going to come back. Yeah, you're going to do a comeback. But this time you were authentic then, you're still authentic, but you're sure of yourself. Still humble, but you're sure of yourself. You're going to go through a spiritual path first to understand yourself. But when you do come back from it, you're going to do a comeback in the music industry yourself. You're going to do a comeback and it's going to be epic. It's going to be great. And it's going to be firm. I feel like you are not shaken. You are not. It's almost like nobody can tell you anything. Like nobody can say nothing to you. You have that confidence. Yeah, confidence. Perhaps that's what you were lacking. Because you were not sure. I get it. I mean, you know, you can't go around saying certain things, especially in that environment. But this environment, the new environment that's coming up, when you start vibrating high yourself and everybody else starts vibrating, is going to support each and every one of us in a way that you confirmed even further, in a way that people they will see you and will have no choice but to believe you because it's evident, like everybody can see it. And I'm getting that it's not about something similar to me though. They're saying like you, like me. I don't know how to explain it. You shouldn't be bothered or worried about whether people are going to receive you right or not, believe you or not. It doesn't matter. They might not be in your kind of like vibration right now, but in the future they will be. You just keep going. You just keep moving in that way, in the way that you've been doing, but now with more confidence, more knowledge, because you're going to tap into that knowledge from your ancestry. More knowledge. And that's the thing. Okay, now I'm getting it. I felt like I was forgetting something. This is the difference between you and the other ones that I've defragmented. You were very mindful of of talking or teaching shit that you don't know nothing about. That not necessarily that you don't know nothing about, but that you haven't really, that concept that you haven't really explored yourself and made them firm within yourself and your belief. You're very mindful of what you're saying, how you're saying things. The difference between you and the others is that the others, they have the gift of gab, like you would have a gift of gab, maybe a gift of music as well. But one, they're not using their brains. I'm sorry. They're not applying themselves. No, I'm not sorry. I'm not sorry. They're not applying themselves. They're not applying themselves to the concepts that they're trying to discuss with people. Two, they're also not tapping into the right databases, right? That is what I'm saying, aligning with God Himself and your ancestors. And that's what you will have the opportunity now to know, that you're going to have to learn to allow yourself to be guided from the spirit world by God Himself and your ancestors as well. Father keeps saying, I keep seeing Father saying your ancestors, just like me. It's not to say God is not there. God is there. He's going to answer, but most of the time you're going to be with your ancestors. They work for Him. Okay, your ancestors are there with Him, and okay, that's the difference between you and the other people. Is that you're very mindful of not spewing out shit out there, and this is why I felt like when you explained yourself, you made sure that we understand that's how you understand things for yourself. And I feel like I resonated a lot with that, because sometimes I also have to make sure that I repeat that as well, to say I'm learning for myself. And I'm not saying that this shit is 100% correct. Sometimes I understand what Spirit is saying, or I say things, I don't know what they mean until I listen to my recording and I'm like, yeah, like it's almost like I'm hearing it for the first time. But after listening to it as well, sometimes I get even more clarity as to what they were trying to say exactly. And sometimes I would do a second recording if I feel like it, like a part two, if I feel like I missed something or I didn't say something in a way that it should be understood. And you were very sensitive towards that, but the others are not. You were sensitive towards spewing out shit, and this is the result. What you did essentially, you didn't do a lot of damage in the system. That is, you didn't create a lot of crap in the system. Your karmic debt is very low in that regard. I'm not saying your karmic debt is low in general, but I'm saying your karmic debt in regards to the concepts, the wrong concepts that people perpetuate, like all the spirituality crap that people are talking about, which are, first of all, nobody really, except for the people who are talking about them, the rest of us don't really understand what they're talking about. You were very mindful of not creating that kind of crap in the system, unlike these others. But then you at least try to go to God Himself. I'm hearing that you're going to understand God, like God has been trying to talk to you. Because all right, I asked something else now. But anyway, I'll talk about it after. God is saying, Father is saying, He's trying to tell you, He's trying to talk to you. But it's a little bit, this is where I'm saying, Father is very, very high vibrational. To hear Him, right, you're going to have to drop certain egos or certain insecurities. So while you're doing that, your ancestors are going to help you, guide you to drop them, in order for you to be able to listen to hear Father sometimes, right? You were hearing Him, but you didn't understand some of the stuff because of your you had your low vibrational things, behaviors were blocking you from hearing His high vibration. Whatever insecurities you have, the confidence issue, you needing validation and confirmation, that kind of things sometimes adds a little bit of a blockage in you. Because you're not going to be confident that you're hearing God say whatever He said to you, that, yeah, you are a program. Something like that. So it's going to be easy, and it's usually works best if you drop those egos first. Like, for instance, I had to talk to Father. So I'm asking Father, why is it that I was able to hear you? Right? Like I'm saying, your setup, everybody else's setup is like that, but then you connected more with Father. You aligned more with Father and not your ancestors so much. It's like I feel like you felt them as well, but you're not really sure if you should be using them. And this is confirmation for you. Yes, they are part of your path. That is what God does. Is this is how he makes sure He's able to cater for everybody. That is, as much as He's omnipresent, but you're actually kind of walking your path, and you needing this and this and that is actually the job of your ancestors. I remember He said to me something like, I was going to do something with him and what, right? Like this part that I'm doing now. And then He says, after that, He's like, oh no, after that, I'm off. It's now your ancestors will take over. And I'm like, wait, what do you mean my ancestors will take over? He's like, no, it's their job. That's what they're there for. So this is what He did. He programmed programs that used to be walking your path to come and assist you further. When they need assistance, they go to Father as well. You can do the same. You can go directly to Father and your ancestors at the same time. I do that, right? But you must also know that your ancestors, for you, it's the trick of understanding that your ancestors are there for you. That's the thing for you. It's to understand that your ancestors are there for you. As well, you have God, you have ancestors as well. You've been using only the God part of it, but Father's saying, yeah, cool and all, but you're missing out on understand. It's going to give you a bit more. When you do that, you're going to get a little bit more. How can I put it? It's like, for instance, things like I had to remember things like, no wonder, that's what my great grandmother used to do this. Oh, that's why my great grandmother used to say this. That's why she used to. This is, you're going to learn more about yourself by remembering some of these programs that existed here on earth before you. Or you're going to hear people tell you, oh, your grandfather, he used to do this, he used to do that. And you're going to see it for yourself and be like, I also do that. Oh, is this what it means? They're going to share with you certain things that they managed. Some of them are gods, right? They have that God status. So they mastered, even though they've passed on, they've mastered your path. And you're gonna miss out on, not you're going to, but you have been missing out on that knowledge base. That knowledge is power. That's what they're talking about when they're saying you have access to that power, but you need to go and claim it. It's yours to use. You're the new version going forward. And your children, I guess. So you need to transfer that knowledge from your ancestry, download that knowledge from your ancestry to yourself, and from yourself, you're going to be an ancestor some stage. But now you're going to be teaching some of your children in that way. You don't have to like work hard when you're an ancestor as well. But not in a way that is interfering with their programs. You're going to learn all those things when you go through your ancestry as well. But that's the message they have for you. That no, this is your confirmation. You've been on your path, and congratulations, you haven't been messing up the system in that way. A lot of programs, concepts that people have been spewing, the manifestations, the creations, the awareness and self-awareness and consciousness of some skewed way and all of that crap, right? They have been adding this information, sometimes knowingly that what they're talking about is bullshit. They're just making shit up, and they've been adding it to the database. And this is where now I, as defragmentation, have to come here and clean up that shit. That is, defragment those kind of concepts and say, okay, this is how it should be, or this is what the universe or Father is saying it is. And that way, we are canceling out these concepts which are not real, that are made up. So you, as much as you were teaching in your own way, in your lyrical way, in your song kind of way, you didn't go in there and do so much of damage. I don't know how much you did, but like now, when I'm defragmenting that consciousness understanding from my perspective, and what can I say? I understand what you're saying, but we're just expanding it further. It's not to say that I'm right in that way. It's how defragmentation sees it because of my experience with Father's consciousness gives that depth into it. Your experience with your own self and going through that kind of exploration of that topic gives you your view, and it's okay. It's not to say that you go in there and you make up shit in that way. You're saying this is how you understand it for yourself. You're not teaching it in such a way that you're saying this is how it works and this is it. For instance, myself, I'm teaching it in a way of this is what I know in my experience. And of course, that is going to be something that people will be like, but how do we know that you're telling the truth? Well, you're just going to have to see it when you see it. And how do I say to people, this is how you're going to see it? Is that you're going to go and do it yourself. Then you're going to see what I'm saying. Because I'm not afraid of being wrong. Right? And I'm not afraid of being proved wrong. But if you want to prove me wrong, you're going to have to walk that path and see it yourself and come back and tell me, oh, you got this part wrong. And I'll be like, oh, okay, I see what you're saying. Or you're probably going to be like, okay, I see what you're saying. You were probably right. So what I'm saying is, I'm going to take responsibility and accountability for my own shit. And so is everybody else. But when you know that you're walking in a path that is guided, your confidence is different. And this is what you're going to get for yourself when you go in there in a guided way, when you go and align with your ancestors as well and be guided. It's going to be different for you. Like sometimes when I'm being taught, like my lessons, I can hear my grandmother answering, not my father. But at this stage, I'm at a point where I'm still in a mission, a specific environment. So I'm mostly working with Father on most things. And my ancestors sometimes on certain things. And there is going to be a point where, like Father said, okay, now that I'm finished with this, now it's your ancestors' turn. They're going to do the rest. And I was like, wait. I didn't know this. It's like, no, that's their job. That's what they're created for. They need to do that. And it's important. And I realized how important it is for your ancestors to work with you. It's their job. And to be honest, if we don't connect with them in that way, we rob them of their spiritual existence, that is as a program. And we rob ourselves as well by not aligning with our ancestors of the knowledge that we could be downloading from them. And it's kind of like sad, to be honest. If you are in the spiritual world and you see it for what it is, where Father's like some of these ancestors, because they don't have their their children or their lineage are not connecting with them, right? So what's happening is they're creating problems as well in the spiritual world. They're so bored because they're not doing anything, right? And their lineage is not picking up um, the craft, whatever craft that is, or the program, whatever that program is. They're not picking up those gifts and trying to run and become the next best generation of that kind of program. What is essentially happening is that you're gonna your lineage dies, your program lineage dies, and going forward, you're not gonna have that program because the kids who are left here on earth are not taking up that programming, right? They're not taking up the responsibility of furthering that program within the system and making sure that it works properly, it's used, and when it's used, it's working at its optimal, whatever, right? So some of them get so bored that they get naughty as well. That is, what they end up doing is they end up connecting with anyone who is willing to connect with them. That is, they interfering with other programs, right? So they're not really aligning with their own lineage, they're aligning with other people's lineages. And it's creating that friction in the system as well. That is, it's creating friction in the universe where now energy is lost in that way. Because the order of things where we used to be in an ancestor kind of living way, we don't do that anymore. People are not doing it anymore. But when they do it in such a way that they practicing some weird shit, which is causing friction and heat in the system, and therefore, yeah, losing energy. But anyway, but is there anything else? I remember your message was going to be very short, not short, but it was gonna be one of the easiest messages to do because I didn't have to defragment a lot of. This is a. Oh, I hope you know what I'm thinking. But anyway, this is the first time in a very long time where I get to defragment someone or a concept that hasn't been creating issues in the system. And I'm very, very, very grateful. And I'm praying myself that I hope the era of defragmenting all these other learner tools which have been creating problems in the system is behind me. Because now I'm thinking, hopefully, Father is sending me people like you, like KRS1, who are, let's learn from, it would be nice to hear and learn from other programs who have the right way of thinking, who can be very inspirational in that way, where we're not fragmented by just listening to them, because some of them are so painful to listen to. And I kept saying to Father, these people are just fragmenting me because I cannot listen to them for too long. But if I'm going to listen to some of the nice ones, because I've been waiting for this moment. It's like, when am I going to listen to good ones? When am I going to get the good ones? When am I going to learn something? These ones are just talking. But hopefully, KRS1 is the beginning of. This is a good one, Father. Thank you for this one. This is a good one, and I feel like he knew that I liked your music, and he knew that I was gonna. He saved the best for last, I think. Hopefully, that's the case. That as much as I'm still defragmenting some of the weird ones, there is one that is keeping in my mind that I haven't done. I don't understand that guy. I don't understand what he's saying. I don't understand what his problem is. So I'm going to have to go back to that one. That's one of the weird ones. And I remember I left him behind. I didn't do anything. Father said, you left this one. And it's because of I was having trouble understanding what the problem was with him. Because he sounds right. Like I say, most of the people sound right because they use keywords. But when you really listen to the meat of whatever they're talking about. There's no meat there. It's just bones. They're just giving us bones. There's no meat. And that's the shit that I have to defragment to see, to hear what are you saying exactly. Right? What is this person saying? But yeah, this is the first time in a very, very long time I get to defragment a concept or someone, a program, not a concept, a program that hasn't been too corrupted. I'm kind of tired with that crap. But anyway, thank you, Father. Thank you, Spirit Team. This was a good one. Hopefully, you bring more of this. And it will be so great for us to see and learn from real mastery or people who are trying their best to learn to learn the right things and teach the right things, and it will be nice to also hear some people who are going to kind of like confirm some of the things in the sense of, oh yeah, we also know that we are programs. I'm waiting for such a person. I keep saying, when are you gonna send me someone who's gonna confirm what I'm saying, right? It's not to say that I don't know, but I mean that I need confirmation. It's that I cannot believe that this world can suppress such an information so completely in that way that not even one person is coming through with it. But I get it that people are gonna be afraid of this shit, right? Thinking that yeah, but I think I must also say something. Am I supposed to warn him? It's almost as if like you don't need that. You already know that they're gonna. This is one of the reasons why you kind of like step back a little. But I feel like once you confirm your knowledge, you're a force to be reckoned with. It's not something that you're gonna be backing down on. You kind of like you just needed confirmation, and that's gonna bring out a different animal out of you. Like that's just what I'm saying. You're gonna do a comeback, a very epic kind of comeback where you, like I'm saying, you're not gonna take any shit from anybody. It's because of not only will you have confirmation, but you'll have the access to the database, the correct information, and you'll be open to it. You're gonna open yourself up to receiving that knowledge and those downloads properly. And they're saying everything is stored within you as well. You must remember that. They are guiding you from your internal self, your intuition, which is internal. Yeah, man, this is what I was feeling like I was forgetting. What they were trying to say is you must remember that everything is stored within you. Everything you need, that information that you were getting, which you didn't trust, is stored within you. It's intuition, inside information, intuition. That's within you. Your guidance is going to be guiding you to access that intuition. You, if you'll see what that looks like for yourself, but that's your guidance. They have stored, God has stored all the information you need to walk your path inside of you. So whenever you have thoughts or feelings or something like that, and you're like, that's an interesting angle to something, don't doubt that. If you do doubt it, then you can confirm it with spirit. You just ask them for confirmation. I don't know what your confirmation is going to look like. For me, my confirmations are many. I burp sometimes. I hear the devil also confirms me, right? Yeah, there is a devil. The devil and his people, they also confirm me, because whenever I'm talking about a topic that they don't like, the dogs will start barking like violently, like yap 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 or something like that. Or the birds will chirp loudly. So but now, because of I've been knocking off all these concepts and working towards my spiritual ascension and also vibrating higher, that noise level is going down. So if there's noise around you, you're going to find that the noise level keeps going down. The more you move forward in confidence, the more you learn, the more you become who you need to be, the, the more your program keeps updating itself with the correct information like that, the more you walk the path that you're supposed to walk in this environment authentically, so, or as authentic as you can be, you know. Yeah, you'll see the vibrations as well. Your low vibration will drop, your high vibration will come into play. You'll be more confident, you'll be more, yeah, you'll be sure of yourself, you know. Just don't drop that. um it's not to say that you should remain humble as that, is that you should still be sure in yourself, but you have that good quality about you. This is why people listen to you. I think you make it easy for us to kind of like be like, yeah, we hear you. I think that's one of your best traits, and I feel like it's something that hopefully you keep. I must be mindful of how I say things as well. I hope you keep that. Well, I feel like it's something, one of those things that it would be nice to see you walk in that confidence with that as well in tow. We can still absorb you. But anyway, is there anything else, Spirit? You know what they keep saying to me? I keep seeing the same because since I started talking about your ancestors, about um, I see a vision. I like when I said to you, I see you I see God on one side, and I feel like you have alignment with Him, but there's your ancestors standing on the other side as well. As if like you see them, you feel them, you hear them, you kind of like understand that there's another energy there, but you're not really aligning with it, right? When I was talking about that, I kept hearing, "Don't forget to tell him to listen to his intuition." Don't forget to tell him to listen to intuition. That's the thing. This is why I'm like, I feel like, am I forgetting anything? Because they kept saying something like, don't forget to tell him to listen to his intuition. Everything is stored within you. And I also feel like I'm forgetting something. There's something else as well. They said I must remind you. I feel like they said I must remind you of intuition. And I feel like another thing is, yeah, it is to say that you should keep that what I was talking about, that feeling that you are actually going to do that. You're going to walk in confidence in that same aura of um it's not to say humbleness in that way, but in, yeah, maybe humble. Let's just use the word humble for now. But you're going to walk in that way, but you're not going to take shit from anybody still. You're going to be balanced. That's what I'm feeling like. That's one of the things that they wanted me to remind you of, to just keep that up. But you're not going to lose that. I see you walking in such strides, like such confidence into places, right? And I feel like even corporate type of places. I don't know. Yeah. And you're going to be good. It's high time people started walking in their path and started being who they need to be. It doesn't matter whether you're a musician or you wanted to be a musician, or you're a big celebrity or you're not a big celebrity. You have a path, and it's high time people started walking in that path. Anyway, is there anything else, Spirit? Okay. Thank you, Spirit.